All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Raw Intuition Health Show. It is amazing to be with you guys. I am so sorry for last week. It didn't work out, but this week is going to be amazing. So let me pull up the chat here so I can see what's going on. Oh, I see it's already busy in there. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. It is episode 2 of this Raw Intuition Health show. And today we are being joined by the amazing Sherylea. And she is here. We're going to talk about why it is so essential to find your own health, your own path on your health journey and not just relying on just one person's experience. We're all a little different. So Sherylea and I are going to talk about what we have found for reasons as to why it's so important to find your own path and to really make it your own so that you can be as successful as possible. And Sherylea has been on this path for what, 30 plus years, something like that?
Well, yeah, it's been a 30-year journey.
Wow. Wow. That's impressive.
Yeah, and I've been on and off. I've been very transparent about that. But yeah, it's been started 30 years ago. So yeah, it's been a while.
Wow. Wow. I love it. Uh,
Yeah.
all right. Okay. Sorry. So once again, I am getting a little echo. Can you
I'm not getting any echo.
okay, perfect. I just
Yeah.
changed something and now I'm not. So
Okay.
all right, we're all good. So yes, we've got a very experienced guest today to share with us all her wisdom, and I'm going to do my best to add in a little of my own as well. So again, you guys remember, so the format of the show, we're going to go over our topic discussion, and then at the end of the show, we'll do a Q&A. So be sure to have your questions ready. And it's probably best to save the questions in the chat until the end when we start doing the Q&A, because it is a little difficult to go back up to the beginning of the show and try and find the questions. So if you've got a question you want us to answer, hold it till the end. But of course, feel free to have fun and chat in the chat. And today, as every week, somebody wins a gift. Somebody that asks a question in the chat is going to win a gift. And so last week, Linda won the paperback version of Five-Star Salad Revolution, my newest book. This week, I'm giving away an ebook, and it's going to be of 21-day raw transformation program. So somebody's going to get a free ebook copy of that book. And so, yeah, I'm excited to hear your guys' questions and see what you got for us. So yeah, let's start off with the topic discussion. Sherylea, what do you have
Okay.
for your first what is the first reason why you think it's so important to find um your own path on this journey?
hmm Well, because so my first reason is because each and every one of us is on a unique path. So each and every one of us are on a unique path. We're on our own journey. We have dislikes, we have likes. And so I feel it's important to honor those, and what may work for one person and what their needs may not be right for us. And so, for example, we may be following more of a sattvic kind of yogic diet where we're more in our spirituality. And so we may be making a point to be more calorie restrictive, whereas someone whose path or journey in this moment may be to be a power lifter and they're looking on to put more muscle mass. And so they're going to have to be in a calorie surplus. And so this would be one area where it's going to be a unique journey, and you can't just follow someone who's, sitting and meditating for maybe 5 hours a day in an ashram, and you're in the gym for 5 hours a day trying to like deadlift 500 pounds. So that's going to be a real unique difference between those two paths. So that was my first one.
Yeah.
Just really looking like, where are you going? What are your intentions? What's important to you?
Yes. Yes. So true. I know. There's so many different factors that we all, what our goals are, what so many things. And so
Yeah.
yeah, I think you nailed it. And I guess my first thing would be that when when you make this path your own, like
hmm
I'm all for following a certain program that somebody might have that you are drawn to for a certain amount of time, but to after a while you see where you can tweak it and kind of make it your own. I
Yeah.
feel I feel like that takes it shifts the responsibility from that other person or that program onto
Yes.
you, right? Because
Yes.
it gives you kind of an out when you only say somebody just wants to do 80-10-10,
Right.
and they do that exactly how it says to do it,
Right.
and say they don't feel the best, or it's just not working for them for whatever reason,
Yeah.
then they can use that as an out and be like, oh, this lifestyle doesn't work. 80-10-10 didn't work for me, so I can't do this lifestyle, right?
Right.
But if you take it and you make it your own, and you take, the foundation of maybe what that program or another program
Yes.
that you like teaches, and
hmm
then you add your own unique, alterations that are going to make it
Yeah.
more sustainable for you, then that puts the responsibility back on you to
Yes.
figure out where you need to adjust and tweak it so that it, works the best for you,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I kind of relate it to, it's like the difference between staying in a hotel for a week or an apartment or something
Hmm.
versus the mindset of, like owning your own home, right?
Right.
When
Yeah,
you're staying in a
exactly.
hotel, it's like, yeah, it's nice. It's nice to
Yeah.
be in there. You don't have really any responsibility too much. But when you're at your own home, and you own the home, and you can paint the walls the way you like it, you can do any sort
Yeah.
of
You make it your
alterations.
own.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what makes you really enjoy living in that space where you can't really,
Yes.
if you don't do that like in a hotel, it's just, you're just there, right? You're just
Yeah,
there
exactly.
taking up some
And
space.
ultimately when you're doing something that's, I feel like there'll be a feeling in there, well, this isn't really actually resonating with me fully.
Yes.
There's going to be some nudges there to maybe, our body gives us feedback all the time, and it's, not to say that, uh, maybe one time we maybe think, oh, well, I'm craving like a chocolate bar.
Yeah.
We're not talking about that, but in the context of a raw food diet, there's many different ways of applying this. So
Yes.
yeah, it's super important to, I feel like on that topic would really to be intentional and
Mm.
to really ask yourself why, the why question, like, why am I doing this? Is my intention? What are my goals? And then structure something around that feels good to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Hmm.
100%. Um, do you want to give your next one?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. So we kind of like we kind of meshed on that one.
Wait, was that
Yeah,
one of
that was,
yours?
yeah. Yes, exactly. And so this next one might be a little bit well, I don't want to say it controversial, but it could be a little out there for some people. But
I like that.
I have a pretty strong spiritual practice, and I'm kind of like to swim in those waters.
Hmm.
So when I thought about this, I thought about it from more of a spiritual, esoteric perspective, being that all of us took a body and we have all ended up on this path of the raw food journey lifestyle. And that we may not have incarnated to take the path of, like, the path that feels right to us, that resonates with us, could be part of that journey that we actually incarnated to experience. So from that spiritual esoteric perspective, we can look at it that uh like, in essence, we're being led to a certain path within this lifestyle, which is what our soul is asking for. And so, we can look at, for example, Gabriel Cousins, who follows a very uh maybe more of a lower carbohydrate, lots of greens, very little fruit. And I feel on this subject, it comes back to a feeling tone. And so to be able to develop the awareness within the body to feel into what is right for our individual needs, it's kind of piggybacking on what we just talked about. But from that spiritual perspective, if we can tap into that, it can often be a real guide to the journey that we were meant to experience in this lifetime. So,
Yes, totally. And that
mhm.
that that kind of leads into mine as well.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I do think, I think that we all do have, a journey that we came here to experience, and
Mhm.
really to develop our
Mhm.
soul and things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm totally on the same page. And in that same type of sense, I think that finding your own path is really about expressing your creativity. Um,
Absolutely.
you know, again, using the 80-10-10 or any program, not just to
Sure.
pick on that program, but
Mhm.
any program, if you're only following it word for word and you don't deviate ever at all, there's no creativity in that, right? There's no
Ex- yeah, there's no unique expression
right.
within
Exactly.
that, right?
Exact.
And
Yes.
yeah, and that can also become very, I think it could even be in the subconscious mind where there's maybe like, oh, this doesn't feel good, but I have to do it because Bob's doing it and he looks amazing, and so I need to do that too. But
Yes.
again, to develop the ability to tap into what feels good for us, and that might require some, definitely, having a little bit more awareness. So maybe putting the attention to the foods you're eating and whether or not, how does that feel while I'm eating it? How do I feel after I eat that? How am I showing up at the gym, or how am I showing up? Am I able to sit for 3 hours in my meditation? All of these
Yeah.
things. So sometimes maybe at the beginning it could take a little bit of work to really sort those things out, but at the end of that, you will find your unique path, and what works for you.
Yeah.
And I feel like that also contributes to the sustainability of the diet, because if we're following someone else's path and it's not right for us, chances are we may not stay on the path, because we'll be like, oh well, I tried that, didn't work for me, but it was only because you weren't able to actually bring awareness into your own sovereignty on the path.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. So true. Well put.
Mhm.
Um, and it's sort of like school, right? So
Mm.
I think this is why most people give up on their dreams, because their creativity is kind of stomped out of them as they go through
Yeah.
school, and they're taught to just listen to authority. Um, don't come up with your own way of doing things. You got to do it this way. So
Yeah.
I think we're kind of trained throughout school to not appreciate our creativity like we should.
Yeah.
And then we go into our, typical job, and it's the exact
Yeah.
same way, right? They give you the
Yeah.
policy, they give you the standardized plan for you to follow, and
Yeah.
you do the steps, and
Do as you're told.
yes, there's really no creativity involved. And so I think that's why so many people are unhappy. And I think that's
Mm.
why so many people feel the need to eat junk foods and things that give them a little like
Mm.
jolt, that gives them that
Mm.
stimulation, because
Yeah.
their whole life they're not using any creativity, and so they need something to give them that stimulation that they're
Yes.
that they're lacking from not being able to really express what they have inside
Yeah.
of them.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I think we don't tap into our right hemisphere as much as we should be, right?
Totally. Totally.
So,
Yes. um
yeah, I love that.
yeah,
Do you want me to do the next one now?
go for it. Yep.
Okay, cool. So the next one is, I think it's really important that we need to look at where we're at emotionally when we go on this path. And I'm all about, on my podcast, I have a lot of guests that I bring on to talk about, our past wounding, our inner child. I'm all about that, because we look at the raw food lifestyle and it is just one spoke on the wheel. The diet is just, it's just a piece of it.
Yeah.
And so the emotional work, often dictates how we show up in our dietary choices. So we can see that, people who are walking around super obese and still, making all of these poor food choices, but it's not really about the food. It's about what they haven't looked at in unpacking all of these emotional triggers, traumas, wounds that we all carry around.
Yeah.
And so I feel like if you don't look at that and you don't do the work to uncover some of those parts of yourself, then we can use raw food just as we would other food as a way to numb out. And so we're not, it's not truly finding your unique journey, because you're not using it in a way that would be serving you. Um, So part of this is we all want to be on this lifestyle because we feel amazing, and we all have our different reasons, whether it's for health or because it's for the ethical treatment of animals. I mean, all of these things are super important to each of our individual ways that we're going to show up. But without doing the emotional work, I still feel within the raw food lifestyle, we're going to make poor choices. We're still going to bring our cooked food addictive habits into the lifestyle, and you're still not going to be showing up in your unique way that you would if you didn't take the time to do that emotional work that I truly believe that we all need to do. So that's another one that I think is really important.
Yeah, and that's something I've been focusing on, especially lately, as well, is just
Mm-hmm.
really looking at the emotional and
Mm.
the past trauma uh,
Yeah.
aspect of healing,
Mm.
and really just finding happiness. Right?
Yeah.
It's about forgiving ourselves for maybe past decisions, or
Yep.
forgiving others for things that have
Mm-hmm.
happened to us. So yeah, I think that is a key aspect of the healing path,
Yes.
and every again that I mean that's just another reason why it's so important to find your own path, like you said, because we all have our own instant, right? Nobody's going to have the same type of emotional
Yeah,
traumas or experiences, so
exactly.
there's always something to look at inside, and
Hmm.
yeah, that also kind of bleeds into my last one as well, which is, it just shows that you care. It shows that you
Mm.
care about doing what's best for you. Like,
Right.
again, you can take on somebody else's program, and that's
Hmm.
great. Like, I'm not against doing other people's programs,
Hmm.
but you need to be able to use introspection and evaluate how things are going, over time,
Right.
so that you get the most out of that program, because there's
Right.
going to be a lot of great things that a lot of these programs are teaching,
Hmm.
but as we've talked about, there's so many nuances and just unique experiences that we all have that require you to really look at it for yourself, and
Yeah.
determine what it is that you need to do in order to have the most success. And so
Yes.
it just shows that, once you get on this path, just the raw foods themselves start to open up your awareness,
Yeah.
and tap you into, yourself more.
Hmm.
And
Absolutely.
so yeah, it's almost, it's almost harder not to take the extra steps to really figure out your own
Yeah.
way, uh, because if you continue just following the outline of somebody else's experience, it's almost going to be more frustrating for you, even though
Yeah.
it's,
Absolutely.
takes a little more work
Hmm.
to really dive deep into your emotions and things like that. But
Yeah, it does.
totally way more rewarding, and
Yeah.
it's
It's an
gonna make
act
it.
of self-love. It's an
Yes,
act that is
yes,
is an act of self-love. And I think
absolutely.
like for all of these points, I feel like the common denominator is bringing awareness to your uniqueness. And so there's no other Matt on the planet. You're the only one. There's only
Yeah,
one of me. And it's like, I think sometimes there's a bit of a confusion too around, well, we're frugivores by nature, for example. That could be an argument, and so we should be eating a fruit-based diet, and so trying to um conform to that. But that's kind of a blanket, that there's truth to that. It's just that it requires awareness. So I think that's kind of the common for all of these points, is to really sit down, become aware, ask the why question, and then build on that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I'm guessing, uh, even the primates are eating slightly different diets based on
Hmm.
where in the forest or the jungles they are. I'm sure they have
Yeah.
different, you know they have to also, find I guess what is gonna help them sustain
Hmm.
themselves. And so
Yeah.
if they were if they somehow had internet and they saw that, the monkey down the road was eating more papayas and
Right. Yeah.
they only had, mangoes, they're not
Yes.
so you just gotta take into account that there's gonna be slight variations to each one, and it still falls within that umbrella of a frugivorous diet if
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
what people want to follow. There's many ways that you can make it work, and it still falls under that
Totally.
same umbrella. And so,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just keeping the bigger picture in mind, I
Yes.
think is important because,
Yeah.
yeah.
And one other thing too, I think it's important just to state this is that as we find our unique path, it's really important not to project that onto others who are
Hmm.
just coming in, so that allow them their own journey. Because um, obviously people who come into the lifestyle, they're looking for help and they may DM us and ask for tips and things they can do, but just to never be in judgment of the choices that they're making. Like, because my diet is fruit, I'm mostly fruit based, and then I have my salad, and I have my day kind of structured in that way. If someone says, "Oh, you know what? What feels right for me is I'm just going to start the day with a big salad and maybe I'll have a piece of fruit." Well, it's not for me to judge that, even though, so the point is just to stay open to other people's unique path, and to try to be careful not to project what works for us onto others, because then they can take that and then get into this, what we're just talking about, not being able to find their own path because they're just listening to all the chatter from everybody else. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I look at. I was just watching Chef AJ last week, I think, and she had on a 102-year-old
Oh,
diet.
yeah.
You see that one? So
I didn't see it. I saw that it was on. I'm meaning to watch that. Yeah.
okay, yeah, I like to watch the ones where she has on like the centarians and things like
Yeah,
that.
for sure.
So I mean, she just another example of how again we're all on our own path, and not you don't have to be a 100% raw vegan in order to live a long healthy life,
Right.
as we can see from a lot of
Yeah.
these interviews that Chef AJ has had, among other blue
Yeah.
zones and all these things. So
Yeah. Right.
um yeah, it's just I think people get so hyper focused on perfecting their diet in what they think is the ideal way,
Right.
and that it doesn't allow them to be creative in other ways, I think, because they put
Yeah.
so much energy into the just perfectionism of their
Yeah.
diet. And so I guess that's just something I have been really paying attention to over the last few years
Mm.
is, of course I want to eat the best diet that I can
Yeah,
for myself,
absolutely.
but you know I'm learning that there's more flexibility in that. I think there's more benefit to having flexibility
Yeah.
in that pursuit,
Mhm.
um than what most people give it credit for. And so
Mm.
putting
Absolutely.
a little more attention into some of the other aspects, making sure that you're processing and eliminating stress as well as
Mm.
you can, getting out in the fresh air, getting enough sleep, being
Yeah.
hydrated, drinking water, all these different things. I see that being overlooked, more so now that I'm kind of aware of it a little more. So that's just
Yeah.
something I've been noticing.
Yeah, well, it kind of comes back to that spoke, doesn't it? Where it's like
Yeah.
we get hyper focused on the diet, but meanwhile, we're not focusing on proper sleep, or we're not getting any sunshine. All these
Yeah.
things are part of the whole, right?
Yep.
So,
Absolutely. Okay, well, I mean that was my third one. Do you have any additional thoughts on anything that we talked
yeah.
about so far?
Well, I mean, just kind of as a fourth one, that maybe it's just kind of a little an aside, just
Yeah.
about the addiction component.
Mm,
Um, Many of us are coming off of a diet that could be very highly addictive. And so, if you're coming off a standard American diet and you're used to eating a whole bunch of processed foods, you're going to have food addictions.
yeah.
And so that was the other piece, was just when it comes to finding your unique path, it's really being aware of those addictions and noticing the choices that we're making um, in the raw food lifestyle, because it's very easy to come into the lifestyle. And not that I'm opposed to using a dehydrator, because I think
Hmm.
it works for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But if you're never getting off of that and you're just constantly eating dehydrated foods as a way to, again, like I said before, to kind of numb out from the other things that are going on, we have to treat food addictions like we would any other addiction. And if someone's addicted to alcohol or heroin or cocaine, like, are they really on their uh, authentic path?
Right.
No, they're not, because the substance is really leading the show in that sense. So I feel like it's really important to look at food the same way. And we don't want to bring our addictions. Well, they're going to happen organically. You're going to bring those in. But I think, again, it's like to truly find your authentic, unique path that really needs to be addressed. And so that you're not using all of these different raw food items to numb yourself out. Because now more than ever before, we can create, I mean, there's everything:
Yeah.
cakes, cookies, chips, dips. I mean, all of it, right? And you
Yes.
could just spend your day making and eating those foods and never touch a piece of fruit or anything that might be hydrating to the body, which is where ultimately, you know, maybe being on this path could be important. But again, that's not for me to judge or for you to judge. We're all on our unique path. But just as a point, I think it's important to look at our food addictions when we start down this road.
Yeah. I 100% agree.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably when I coach people, that's one of the things is helping them recognize
Yeah.
those situations and helping them to get through that. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a big part of it, carrying over your old addictions and habits and thought patterns and all these things
Yeah.
that play a big part in how
Mm-hmm.
successful we are with our diet or with our health or anything else. So
And I also feel like as we go down this road, I think organically these things do start to come up. So,
yeah.
it's not something that it wouldn't be in the same caliber, for example, as if you were just like eating Pringles and Doritos. There's going to be an awareness that organically shows up when you start incorporating living foods into your diet, no matter what they are.
Yep.
So, just by way of doing that, I feel like there will be a higher level of awareness than you would have had having not come in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and as you were talking about that, I just remembered, I wanted to bring up another, just kind of to reinforce the idea of having some flexibility in your
Mm.
mindset
Yeah.
and how you approach your diet. Like you said, you know, dehydrated foods and items like that are great, and they can be a part of
Hmm.
a very healthy diet, of course.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
but for me, like I noticed, so I did eat more dehydrated foods in the early days of getting
Hmm.
into this lifestyle. And then
Yeah.
over time, I started to really just crave the hydration and more
Yes.
of, just whole natural foods for the most part.
Hmm.
And so if you go into a diet or a lifestyle with just a fixed, you know, way of doing it, then you don't have you don't have the awareness or the openness to recognize when it's time to maybe start shifting towards, another version of that diet.
Exactly.
So,
Hmm.
you just got to
So
really
true.
listen to your body and
Yeah.
feel how the food is making you feel. So again, like even with fat for me, I used to eat way more fat
Mm.
in the first few
Yeah.
years, and over time I lessened it and lessened it because I just felt better with less. And
Yeah.
so, you know just keeping your focus, on your body awareness, how your body feels as you're eating the foods that you're eating, and
Yeah.
using a flexible mindset to be able to make small tweaks here and there when you need to.
Yeah. Absolutely. Love that.
You. All right. Anything else that you want to maybe touch on before we head to the Q&A?
No, I mean, I think, I think those were my top three, and then I added that little fourth one in there. But
Yeah.
all I can say, my word of the day would be awareness. If
Mm.
I could pick a word,
Oh,
awareness. Have
I love it.
awareness. Hmm.
Love it. Yeah, that's so key. Awareness.
Mm.
If you're not aware, I heard a quote that you can tell a person, or you'll know a person's results, or what was it? Somebody's results uh, dictate their level of awareness, or something like that.
Mm.
So it just
Yeah.
shows the results you're getting in your life are dependent on your awareness. And so
Yes.
if you're oblivious to certain things that are keeping you from reaching your goals, then obviously you're not going to fix that. So you gotta
Yeah.
do what you can to become as aware as possible of those things. So yeah, I love that. That's your word of the day.
My word of the day.
Okay, cool. So, all right, guys, let's get the Q&A going here. So, again, somebody that asks a question today is going to get a free ebook copy of 21-Day Raw Transformation Program. So, if you're chosen, just make sure you send me an email at matt@myrawintuition.com, and I will get you that free ebook. So, what questions do we have? Let's see here. Depend a little on my friend Sherry, a different,
Mm.
not Sherylea, but Sherry,
Okay.
and she's in the chat, and she's usually pretty good at pulling out those questions if there are any. So let's take a look. So I see. I mean, I guess we can just start off with. I see Sherry asked a question to Tessa, but I guess maybe we can just, because I'm not actually seeing any right now.
Okay, cool.
So she asked, "Have you had your omegas tested? Have you ever do you get? I mean, what are your thoughts on testing? Like, do you do
Yeah.
testing?
Well, because I'm in my 50s now,
Okay.
I do because where I always have. I've always done because I'm just interested kind of where I'm at. But now more than ever, yeah, every 6 months, definitely no more than a year. I want to know what's going on
Yeah.
in my body just to make sure that I'm getting, that my B12 isn't, plummeted to nothing or, I don't know, my cholesterol wouldn't be bad, but I just want to know these things. I'm
Yeah.
interested in how my body's working. And as I get older, I feel like there's more of a internal push nudge to make sure that I'm heading in the right direction in terms of health span.
Yeah. I think that's smart. I
What
and
about you?
I haven't done, so I have done blood testing.
Mm-hmm.
I did it in 2017 and 2018, but I haven't done it since then.
Okay.
But I would actually, I've done individual tests. So I've done a vitamin
Uh-huh.
D test, I've done a B12 test just recently. My vitamin D was super low. So
Ah,
I started
interesting.
experimenting with a supplemental D3.
Yeah.
Didn't really like it. I don't know, it made me feel kind of weird, so I stopped doing that. So then I ordered a Spurdy vitamin D lamp, so I've
Mm-hmm.
got one of those. Um, but it's summer. I got it right in the spring, so it's like,
Okay.
did the lamp?
But in the wintertime, it'll probably be
Yeah,
great,
yeah. Yep, exactly. So I've got that now for the winters here in Minnesota. Um, and yeah, I agree with you. I think it's really important to know that what you're doing is working. And
Mm.
so I would, encourage anybody to at least, get a blood test or something, every few years or something like that. If that's if you agree that it's important to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I think again, being awareness word again coming up, just like how are you
right,
feeling? Like, are you feeling like, oh, I wake up and I'm just tired, like I'm eating all the
right.
things I feel like I'm supposed to be eating, but I'm constantly tired, then it might, you should just maybe there's something there that can be uncovered as to why that is. And then it's just a really quick fix, like, for example, maybe your B12 is in the toilet. And so then you take a supplement and you feel better.
Yes. Which
Yeah.
mine was. I went the
Mm,
first 7 years of being in this lifestyle without doing any supplement, any B12 supplements.
yeah.
I did experiment with a couple random supplements, but nothing of any significance.
Uh-huh.
But B12, I didn't do any supplementing, and I got my blood tested, and I was extremely low in that as well.
Wow.
So then I started supplementing, and I take a B12 supplement like once or twice a week. It's not like a huge concern for me. And then I tested my blood again just recently, like I said, and it's right where it should be.
Right.
So
Should be. Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, like it's the awareness. Like I never would have known if I never tested my blood, and I wouldn't have known that my vitamin D was super low either. Which I mean, I could have probably guessed because the
Mm,
last few years I just haven't gotten out in the sun enough. I know,
yes.
and yeah, so this
And
summer
a
I've
lot of these things, yeah, it's not even about supplement. Like you can just be like, oh, I'm low vitamin D. The sun's outside.
right.
I'll go and make sure I get more sunshine.
Yes,
Mm,
yes, exactly. So yeah, I think it's great to just check in on yourself. Again, it's about introspection. It's about checking some of the more tangible things that you can see, like the blood tests and things. So as much awareness as we can give ourselves of our situation, I think is gonna only make our success even more likely.
yeah, totally.
Let's see. Oh, and I did get my omega 3s tested as
Oh, you
well.
did. Okay.
Yes, and they
And you were
were,
good there?
yeah, they were great.
Oh,
So
good. Okay.
my EPA and DHA was good. So yeah, and
Perfect.
yep, it's good. I still need to do a video on it. I haven't haven't had time, but one of these days I'm gonna do a video on those test results.
Yeah, that would be
Um,
amazing.
yeah, and that's one of the things that so many people are worried about is EPA and DHA and getting their
Mm,
essential fatty acids. So I do think it's important to show. I've been living this. It's 12 years. I realize that's not a lifetime, so I can only show what my experience is based on the last 12 years,
right.
and I'll have to keep checking over time. Um, so yeah. All right. Let's see. We got Tessa's question is, do people addicted to overt fats have to consume them, such as avocados?
Okay. So addicted. So meaning that like you just have to have them because if you go crazy if you don't. Um, well, I feel like having fat in the diet is an important part of the lifestyle for sure. Like I'm not sure, but again, there's like look at the 80-10-10. There's a lot of people who do just fine with
Yeah.
getting most of their like a very very small amount of fat and kind of relying on more even the fruit and vegetables as their source, where others they have a half, maybe a whole avocado, maybe put some nuts on their salad, make a dressing, and that they feel great with that. So
Yep.
if you think you have an addiction, if the word addiction's coming up and you feel like there's a like an internal nudge that says, ooh, I feel like I could be addicted to this, again, I feel like, okay, well then that's a time to bring awareness into your choices that you're making, such as how much fat am I consuming, and at the end of the day, what is the intention? What are you wanting to do? I mean, if you're looking to lose weight and you're eating 3 4 avocados a day mashed up into a guacamole might not be the best solution in terms of getting you to your goal. So
Yeah. Totally agree. Um, yeah. Again, it's about personalization. If, like Shirley said, if it's like you feel like it's an addiction, then maybe take a break from it, I guess. And but
mm,
yeah, I mean, there's many ways to do the lifestyle, like she said, and there's like Chef AJ. She doesn't have any overt fats. She
right.
just eats whole foods and gets her essential fatty acids from the vegetables and the fruits that she eats, and um, I don't think she even eats beans, right? So yeah, again, it's whatever's gonna make you feel the best,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the way that you gotta go about it
And there's
is
also too, there's our thoughts are things,
yeah,
our words are things, it's energy. And so if you're eating something and you're, for example, stressed out because, oh my gosh, I'm eating an avocado, it's so fattening, it's probably going to like become part of my body in the way of fat, and you've got all these thoughts, then it's creating a stress in the body before you even eat the food. And so
yeah,
I think when we're eating something, we want to feel good about the food we're putting into our body, not just because we're nourishing our physical body, but we're also looking after like the emotional body matters and what we tell ourselves as we're eating the food. If we think we're going in because we have an addiction, that can be like, that might not be the best word to use if you're trying to even develop more of an awareness as to what's right and wrong. So maybe choose a different word like, oh, I'm going to explore eating, this avocado, and I'm going to see how it feels in my body, rather than, eating the avocado and being like, oh, here I go, I'm eating another avocado again. I'm so addicted. It's
yeah,
just, so I think that's really important as well.
yeah, absolutely. Sherry said she's clarifying Tessa what Tessa meant. She said, "Can she stay healthy without overt fats? Do you think she needs to add hemp or chia to smoothies?" I mean,
Well, that's an individual choice.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I try it, and see how it feels.
And if, for example, that's where the blood work would come in. Like if you're worried about your
Yeah,
omega-3s, just get a quick, simple blood test. And if you're not eating any chia or hemp seeds and you feel really good and you get a blood test done and it comes back and it says, no, your omega-3s are great, then don't worry about it,
yeah,
But maybe, for example, if they were really low and you were kind of feeling a little lethargic or not feeling so good, then that would be a time, well, I'm going to add a couple tablespoons into my smoothie every morning.
yeah. Um, Sherry also said Tessa. Okay, so Tessa feels she's addicted to fats, so she doesn't eat anything but fruits and greens. Is that sustainable? Yeah. Yeah. It's the how you're viewing it. Like Sherry Lee said, is it is health. I think they are healthy foods. Of course. So why? I mean, yeah. If you're if you're feeling out of control when you eat those foods, um, it's an emotional issue,
Yeah.
I would say. So yeah, you really, as we've kind of touched on quite a bit actually on this show, is that yeah, you really gotta find that emotional component and what is
Mm.
causing you to feel out of control when you eat those fats. But do you absolutely need to eat them?